Let me ask you a question. What do you like about video games? Is it the unique, immersive quality of them? Maybe it's a specific style of gameplay that captivates you. Maybe you just enjoy getting lost in a good story. Whatever it is, I guarantee if you look hard enough, you'll find a concrete reason why video games are captivating to you, and which ones specifically appeal to you. But what if I told you there was a game out there that had a little something for everyone? A game that is so perfect. Okay, I'm gonna cut the crap. You know why you're here. Let's talk about the funny me game. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Tomodachi Life is a great game, and I love that game equally. Okay? You got that? I'm not dissing our Lord and Savior, okay? Just because I like pancakes doesn't mean I hate waffles. I didn't f***ing say that. So why am I specifically bringing up Miitopia? Well, that's for a variety of reasons. If you didn't know, Miitopia is a Nintendo-developed role-playing game released in 2017 for the Nintendo 3DS, but the game was remastered for Nintendo Switch in 2021. The Switch version is what we're mainly going to be focusing on in this video, since it's the most accessible and popular version of the game. However, I do own both versions and will be mentioning the differences between them as they come up. So what's so special about this silly little Nintendo game? Well, the main appeal of Miitopia is that, while it is an RPG with a set story, it's malleable enough that the player has a lot of creativity in terms of making the game unique to them. Mainly because all of the characters in the game are Miis, which the player selects either from their system or from other players' accounts. This allows for any character and any role to be played by anyone you want, whether that be an actual person or a fictional character. It's how you get interactions such as Freddy Fazbear beating the absolute shit out of a Minecraft villager. The game contextualized this through actors, essentially giving the player the role of director, being able to determine who plays what role in the story. The game even opens on a cute little curtain cinematic to imply the start of a play. What's great about this idea is how easy it is to jump right into it. You don't have to make the Miis if you don't want to. In fact, you can easily type in another player's access code and add any Miis they have saved to your game. Not just the ones that the player made either. Any Miis that they have received from other players will appear there too. I found tons of really well-made Miis that I've used in my most recent playthrough, and it just makes the game feel so much more lively. There's a fan-made Miitopia website called Miitopia, which has tons of access codes compiling Miis for specific series and creators. I've personally found and added hundreds of cool Miis to my game. If you want to check it out, my access code is 8CKY3G0, or it'll be on the screen. I highly suggest looking at it if you're into Jojos, Persona, Pikmin, Attack on Titan, or just gaming history in general. I found some really cool stuff. I'll also be leaving the access codes to the original creators of all these Miis in the description if you're interested. These well-made Miis were all possible by the makeup mechanic. This was added in the Switch version and adds so much more possibilities to Mii creation. And even better, it can be edited at any time. The 3DS version unfortunately does not have access to this feature, and Miis are instead shared through QR codes. As I'm sure you're aware, the main Mii maker is still incredibly robust, and people have made some amazing stuff with it, so don't feel deterred from playing the 3DS version if that's all you have access to. The creativity in Miitopia is an integral part of its identity. It is fundamentally a game you can shape the world of. I hear a lot of people say that you get out what you put into Miitopia, and while I see where they're coming from, Miitopia is just flat out a fun and robust game without the creative aspect. Plus, the effort you have to put into Miitopia to get a fun and creative world built is nearly negligible, considering the most you have to do is think of what characters you want to include and then just search them up on Miipedia. But without that aspect, I mentioned how Miitopia is a robust and interesting game on its own earlier. So why is that exactly? Miitopia is an RPG. That sentence alone has certain people pricking up their ears and others running for their lives. But I honestly think the gameplay of Miitopia has enough depth to keep hardcore RPG fans invested, while also being straightforward enough that you don't even really have to treat the game as an RPG. Excluding certain parts of the post-game that are more focused on providing a traditional RPG fan a much more difficult experience, Miitopia takes aspect from life simulation games and RPGs. Where have I heard that one before? When I say life simulation games, I mean specifically Tomodachi Life, which is the precursor to Miitopia. But Miitopia takes the mechanics of that game and applies them to your adventure and battle strategy. Each party member in Miitopia has a job, or essentially a class. The starting 6 jobs are Warrior, Thief, Pop Star, Cleric, Chef, and Mage. You can select 4 of these classes for each of the 4 Miis you use on your journey in the first area of the game, as well as the personality of each Mii, which are kind, energetic, laid-back, cool, airheaded, stubborn, and cautious. The combination of job and personality is integral to creating a great party member. A warrior is a damage behemoth, but needs support. A thief can hit multiple targets and set traps. A pop star can also hit multiple targets, but focuses more on support with its song attacks. A cleric is a great healer class, but lacks attack. A chef can both heal and attack, making that character incredibly adept, but can't master either the way a cleric or a warrior can. And a mage focuses heavily on magic attacks to both attack and provide support. Mages are pretty unanimously agreed to be the best class by far. However, every job has a unique use, making all 6 of these worth having. But it's the personality traits that really make this system interesting. Each personality type has its strengths and weaknesses. For example, a cautious Mii may skip a turn once in a while, but can also one-shot enemies on rare occasions. A cool Mii can deal critical hits without show-off, as well as being able to stack the damage from show-off. We'll get to explaining that ability in a bit. However, a cool Mii may flat out refuse healing from a party member. Of course, certain traits are just flat out better than others. Particularly, cool Miis are the most advantageous from a gameplay standpoint, simply because they have very little drawbacks. Whereas airheaded Miis basically only have drawbacks, such as playing with the enemy, falling asleep in battle, and even attacking the wrong enemy. Now, while all these traits sound bad, they still have some good qualities, such as sleeping helping to regain HP and playing with the enemy acting as a distraction. But even still, you can see which one of these would be better to pick for battle on paper. The difference is how you combine personality traits with jobs. For example, a cool thief or pop star allows for much more common critical hits that affect every enemy on field, leading to awesome moments like this. One of the more interesting combinations I've come across is the Stubborn Warrior. Warriors already tank hits very well, but a stubborn trait can make them block much more often and even survive with 1 HP after what would have been a KO. It essentially acts as a built-in support system for the warrior, making them incredibly powerful, even if the teammate's AI decide not to support the warrior for whatever reason. That's another thing though. Aside from the main character, who you select at the beginning of the game and is supposed to represent you, all teammates act on their own. There isn't any party control. Even so, Miitopia uses its built-in systems to make this work, not only through the personality traits offering strategy when selecting the best combinations of team members, but also through the friendship mechanic. I mentioned earlier the ability Show Off. This is the only way a party member can deal a critical hit unless their personality trait is cool. The way you unlock this ability is through the friendship mechanic, by putting characters in the same room, using outing tickets, only in the Switch version, through random scenes while adventuring, or through Jolly Jaunt tickets won in the roulette, you can increase the friendship level between 2 Miis. Once they reach level 2, they can utilize Show Off. This allows a Mii to literally show off for the Mii they're friends with to deal extra damage. This, along with numerous other abilities, unlock as Miis become better friends with each other, and are a core part to successful battles. Miis are more likely to heal their friends, more damage is going to be dealt the more they praise each other in battle. Heck, Miis can even pitch in during another Mii's attack to deal extra damage if they're good enough friends with that Mii. You always want to be raising these levels between different Miis, until your team has everyone being great friends with everyone. This isn't even mentioning the fact that Miis can get into fights as well. Remember how I mentioned that a cool Mii can sometimes just flat out turn down healing? Well, that may cause the healer to become upset with them and cause a fight, which neutralizes the effects of their friendship until they can sort it out. Pop stars at a high enough level have an ability which allows them to instantly mend fights going on between 2 Miis on the team, which allows for even more strategy as to the best combination of personality, job, and friendship levels you want going into specific fights, even if the game essentially plays itself. Plus, you can pause the action at any time to move specific Miis with status effects to the safe spot, letting them be cured of it faster, or you can utilize sprinkles, which let you heal your Miis, give them more MP, and even revive them, although you only get 1 life sprinkle per expedition, so you want to use it wisely. Later in the game, you unlock Hyper Sprinkles and Shield Sprinkles, which essentially make your Miis do much more damage and shield them. Bet you're surprised by that one. Because of all these systems connecting with each other, you have an infinite amount of ways you can play Miitopia. Whether you want to get super invested and build an unstoppable team, or you just want to make Peter Griffin an airheaded chef and see how many people he can piss off. I personally find Miitopia super investing because of this combination of creativity with gameplay. For the first area, I made a team consisting of Olimar from Pikmin as a kind chef, he's also my main character, Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as a cool pop star, Agent 8 from Splatoon as an energetic mage, and Monita from Nintendo Land as a stubborn warrior. See, I tried to make pairings that fit the characters while also getting good combinations to make a great team. Although, I'll admit the only reason I made Jotaro a pop star is because the base outfit for male pop stars reminds me of his outfit from the show. In the Switch version, Nintendo decided to add a horse, which you come across near the end of the first area. The horse isn't a party member despite how it may look. Rather, it has its own set of friendship level abilities that you can unlock with Miis as they spend time with the horse. Without those abilities, the horse does nothing. Rather, sometimes the horse will help out during the turn of Miis it's friends with. So it really comes down to how you use outing tickets and room placements to establish how much the horse gets utilized by certain Miis. It's a cute addition, but as with the makeup, if all you have access to is the 3DS version, it's not so integral that you'd need to go out of your way to get the Switch version. But that's your call to make, not mine. I ended up designing the horse in this most recent playthrough after the puppy I adopted a few months back. Ripley! Isn't he just the cutest? Don't you just want to snuggle up with him and let your worries melt away? Oh, isn't he just a silly baby? Isn't he just the silliest? Isn't he just a silly little puppy? Oh, I love you, Ripley. I love you, Ripley. I just want to cuddle with you. You're a silly boy. You're a silly boy. He's the silliest baby of all time. I love you, Ripley. I love you so much. He's so silly. He's so silly, puppy. I love him. I love the silly puppy. He's so silly, silly, silly. He's such a silly, silly puppy. If you're slowing down this audio, figure out what I'm actually saying. Why are you reading so much into this? He's such a silly puppy. He's such a silly puppy, Ripley. He's such a puppy, puppy. He's a silly puppy, baby. What were we talking about again? Miitopia? Oh, yeah. Earlier, I mentioned expeditions, so what are those? Well, at the end of each level, the group will come across an inn. The Miis friendship levels will grow depending on which rooms they're placed in, and you'll be able to prepare before going back out on another outing. Sometimes, Miis will have little interactions to slightly raise their friendship levels, encouraging you to move people around to find some of these scenes, as when one is available, you'll see a little thought bubble with the party member a Mii wants to go see. Otherwise, the menu option Check on the Team is used to move team members around. Other than that, you can go on an outing, only in the Switch version, to raise some friendship levels and see some funny scenes. There's Eat Grub, which allows you to feed Miis the food you find in levels to raise certain stats. There's Spend Gold, which allows you to buy new weapons and armor for the party, as well as healing items. And, of course, there's the arcade.
Woo! Yeah, baby!
Here, we can use arcade tickets found throughout the levels to play both the roulette and rock, paper, scissors. You'll never guess what you do in rock, paper, scissors. That's right, you gamble. It's a simple game where you keep playing rock, paper, scissors, and every time you win, you get more and more gold. But if you lose, you don't get any of your earnings, so you have to figure out when it's a good time to tap out. The more interesting option here is the roulette. You can get armor, weapons, food, recovery items, and of course, our Lord and Savior, Jolly Jaunt tickets. These are basically just outing tickets without the silly scenes. These actually are in the 3DS version and are, in my opinion, some of the best items in the game. Keep checking back on that roulette until you see a luxury Jolly Jaunt ticket available, taking up a good portion of the roulette, and then go crazy. These things are actually OP if you get a good roulette wheel and have tickets stocked up. I'm telling you, it's absolutely insane. Finally, there's Set Out. This allows you to go into another level with everyone's HP and MP reset as well as your sprinkles. Once you clear the first area, you actually lose all your party members and you have to pick a new class for your main character. Essentially, Miitopia has 3 main areas where you can create 3 separate teams in each, before the game flat out gives you all 9 of your team members back, allowing you to mix and match the people on the team to try and make a good combo. This is kinda cheap, but I understand that Nintendo wanted to ease players into the idea of the friendship mechanic with multiple 4-person parties, rather than throwing you into a whole system where you have to worry about, 55 different relationships. Still, it's a bit silly how you build up a team for a whole area, only for you to not be able to see them again until the 4th one, where you get everyone back. But once you have everyone back and the game becomes more open, you can really start to see just how meaty the gameplay of Miitopia can actually be. Going into the second area, we have access to 3 new jobs: Cat, Imp, and Scientist. I'd say Scientist is the weakest out of the bunch in terms of offering something other classes don't, but both Imp and Cat have interesting skills that can be used effectively. Still, the main 6 jobs are the best. This time around, my team ended up being Olimar, now as a Scientist, Joker from Persona 5 as a cool thief, Steve from Minecraft as a cautious cleric, and finally, Freddy Fazbear, the laid-back imp. Yeah, I went pretty crazy this time around with creativity. I mean, you simply can't put Joker in the game without making him a cool thief. To make sure I use every class in a playthrough, I make the main character use the ones that are kinda useless before swapping them back to whatever I originally picked for them once Area 4 comes around. I honestly think Scientist and Princess are both jobs that barely offer much that another job can't, whereas Chefs are just overpowered, especially when you're able to control them. Speaking of the Princess class, for Area 3 and my final team, I ended up going with Olimar, now as a Princess, the Armored Titan from Attack on Titan as an energetic tank, Jubanyan from Yokai Ripley, what are you doing over there? Jubanyan from Yokai Watch as a laid-back cat, what a shocker, and finally, a winged Pikmin as an air-headed flower. Okay, come on now, who could resist making that pun? Tanks are really useful members of the team, despite what the name implies. Tanks deal insane damage at the cost of not being super defensive themselves. They do have a guard ability much like warriors, but that unlocks at a pretty high level. It's important to have someone to support the tank such as a flower, the final job we get access to in the main game. Flowers are healers, much like clerics. The big difference is that while they focus mostly on healing, they have an attack that can hit multiple targets, much like a thief or a pop star. Otherwise, they're quite similar to clerics. Okay, now that the dream team is established, we've covered the gameplay mechanics, and we're approaching Area 4, what else is there to talk about? Oh boy, just you wait. Let's take a step back for a moment and look at the actual story of Miitopia, because I genuinely think it's really, really good. The game starts off with the exposition that the main villain of the game, the Dark Lord, is running around stealing people's faces and putting them on monsters. That's right, you can fight a goblin with Donald Trump's face on it, if you wanted to. After picking out the main character and heading into the town of Greenhorn, we have an encounter with the man himself. Of course, we can select who we want the Dark Lord to be, so the Dark Lord Dio proceeds to steal the faces of the citizens of Greenhorn. Feels bad, man. Now, it's up to us to rescue them with the friends we make along the way. A pretty decent setup for a story, considering half the fun comes from what Miis you make and how you divide them into roles. After meeting Jotaro and friends and saving all the faces from town, we tell the mayor SpongeBob that we gotta get into the castle of the kingdom to check on the king. When we get into the castle, we deal with a goofy-ass love triangle, the dangers of capitalism, and of course, Mickey Mouse. That's the end of Area 1. I didn't want to go into explicit detail about every little thing that happens here because it's not super important. However, what I should mention is that it's in this area that we meet the Great Sage, who is essentially a mentor to the party throughout the game. After promptly making him Robert E.O. Speedwagon, it's about time I talk about Area 2. Once we make it over here, the Dark Lord takes our party members and seals away our powers. Like I said earlier, this happens in every area until Area 4, unfortunately, and it's here that I want to stress something. Before I get into the full story of the game, I want to say that I think the story of Miitopia is better if you are spoiled on it, because then you can set certain Miis in certain parts, knowing what their story is going to be. However, if you would like to avoid spoilers, this is the time to check out. I'm going to be going pretty deep into the story and later into the post-game, so if you want to go in completely blind, click off the video now and come back once you've played the game, alright? For those who are brave enough and are still here, let's get into it. After completing the first area, the Dark Lord ransacks the inn we're staying in and steals our current party, as well as removing our main character's job. It's at this point that we pick a new job for our little Olimar boy, and I decided to go with Scientist this time around. From here, Area 2 is quite similar to the first, with a few key differences. For one, it takes place in a desert and is kind of an Aladdin ripoff. See, the main plot of the start of this area is this genie dude gets released from a lamp and has ransacked the main town of this kingdom, and it's up to us to seal him back in his lamp. The whole thing is very, I don't know how else to describe it, Arabian Nights. Anyway, we eventually find the evil genie Golden Freddy
Was that the bite of-
in a cave with a whole bunch of treasure he stole. Naturally, we torture him a bit before the game eventually forces us to take pity on him as he turns over a new leaf. We get back to the village and Dio is here to steal everyone's faces because of course he is. So the rest of the area is pretty standard fetch quest of gathering all the faces to save the people of the town. After that, we move on to Area 3. You know the drill by now, Olimar becomes a pretty princess and we summon a genocidal maniac to help him. This area is much more fantasy, with the town being full of elves and fairies, with a group called the Fab Fairies being the 3 people we need to unite to get past the area, since it's explained that the magic they've placed on the town is keeping people out as well as keeping us from leaving. Of course, we make the Fab Fairies deep cut, and after rescuing Shiver, Dio is waiting for us beyond the magic seal. And of course, he steals a whole bunch of faces, cue fetch quest where Shiver tags along to help us out, we save the town, epic dance sequence, onto the actually good stuff now. Yeah, the first 3 areas of Miitopia are nothing too crazy. Basically, just supplying the player with 3 separate teams and 3 separate mini-adventures before throwing them into the deep end with all 10 characters and a whole-ass volcano to deal with. After entering Area 4 and being once again stripped of our friends, we wander into a little hollow where we see Pretty Speedwagon! Yes, the Great Sage joins us on our little adventure. He explains that he found some of our friends without their faces and brought them into the hollow to keep them safe. The 3 characters the game gives us back are the last 3 we made for each team. Meaning here we got Winged Pikmin, Freddy Fazbear, and of course, Monita. The first face we find is Monita's, letting us finally reunite with her after like 3 areas of absence. After that, we come across Frederick's facial features floating around. We save him, then we find Winged Pikmin and we save her. Now that we have a party of 4, we can start to investigate the rest of the area and build our roster back up to 10. We get into the lava-ridden area Karkaton. Karkaton? Krakatoon? Hang on.
Karkaton.
After entering that place, our party gets split up, with Olimar, Monita, Speedwagon, and Ripley going in one direction, while Winged Pikmin and Freddy get stuck in another area. In the 3DS version, you obviously don't have a horse, so the party gets split in 2, with the Great Sage also tagging along with the first group. If they gave the horse to Team 2 to kind of split it up 3 and 3, 2 characters and 1 bonus member, that would have been much more cool, honestly. It would have made things a lot more even, but whatever. Alas, that is not the case. It isn't a huge deal though, because when the group reconvenes, we get the boss fight of Cerberus, with the faces on it being all of our second party members, meaning here, we've got Agent 8, Jibanyan, and Steve unlocked after this boss fight. After this, the Great Sage Speedwagon leaves the party and we set off towards the castle. In the castle, the party is separated yet again. This time with one team having 4 members and the other team having 3. Olimar's team finds Joker, while Agent 8's team finds the Armored Titan. After the team meets up, we find Jotaro, and now our 10-person party is assembled. Finally, it's time to approach Dio. Get it? Approach? I'm so but not before we fight a giant-ass dragon! Once we beat it and remove the face from it, we learn that its name is Dominic. Dominic the Dragon. We stand. I honestly would have much rather the game let us choose the name of the dragon, considering everything else in this game is customizable. I always forget the name of this guy is Dominic because it's so unimportant. Literally, this giant-ass blue dragon goes up to us and says, "My name's Dominic," and is just used as a plot device for the rest of the game. Would have been cool if I could name him Cumbuster or something. Anyway, it's time to fight Dio. I love this boss fight. Once you get him down to half health, he starts stealing the faces of your party members and putting them on imps. So not only do you have more enemies to worry about, but you have less party members to be effective until those enemies are defeated. It's not the hardest boss in the world. In fact, I'd say it's honestly quite easy. Hell, the game even jokes about this once you beat him, with the Great Sage just walking up to your party and going, "Did you just beat the Dark Lord? Pretty funny, huh? Wait, what the hell is that?" So it turns out that Dio was just some guy. The real Dark Lord was this blue wispy looking thing called the Dark Spirit. After being defeated, it attempts to take control of Olimar before Speedwagon jumps in the way and gets hit instead. This turns him into the Darker Lord. That's right, the game is far from over. In fact, we've just reached around the halfway point. The Darker Lord flies off to do some evilness, and Dominic the Dragon offers to fly us around Miitopia in order to find him. From here on out, the dragon is essentially just fast travel, which is extremely helpful. In order to figure out where Speedwagon could possibly be, we go to the Traveler's Hub to gather information. What's awesome about the Traveler's Hub is the Miis that pop up here are taken from the Miis in your save game and or from popular Miis other creators have created. The problem with that second option is that only includes Miis made on the 3DS version, meaning that if you want to see cool, well-made Miis with the makeup feature, it's much more effective to just download the ones you like from access codes and let the game pick randomly from your save data. I like this feature since every time you enter the hub, the Miis hanging around are different, allowing you to see a whole lot more Miis than what you would hand-selected for the roles the game prompts you to pick. However, it definitely relies on you having hundreds of silly-looking Miis that you've downloaded, so when you're going through access codes, don't be afraid to download whatever looks cool, rather than hand-picking Miis you know you'll use, because the game's gonna need a buffer. For 3DS players, you wouldn't have access to the makeup feature anyway, so just using the most popular Miis should work. Never mind. Yeah, I'm not sure how this feature works in the 3DS version now, but if it just flat out does not work anymore, then yeah, that really sucks, and maybe one of the bigger reasons you need to pick up the Switch version. The online server shutdown is fairly recent, and I haven't played the 3DS version of Miitopia in a while, so this is something I cannot comment on, unfortunately. If any of you guys know how this feature works now, please go ahead and comment, and I'll make sure to heart it. Anyway, the idea here is that we need to do random quests for Miis in the Traveler's Hub to gather information as to where the Darker Lord is. It's here that we get access to 3 new areas: Powdered Peaks, Peculia, and Nimbus. Each area has a little side quest to go on to gather more information. Powdered Peaks is a pretty standard snow area with nothing to write home about, and I love it! Yeah, I'm a huge sucker for snow levels in games. I don't know why, I just think the aesthetics appeal to me. Powdered Peaks is no different. This is probably one of my favorite areas in the game, which is a shame because it, along with all 3 of the areas unlocked here, is only needed for side quests. Of course, certain side quests are required to progress, but counting just the required ones and not the optional missions, these 3 areas are extremely underutilized in the story. You sort of quickly visit them and then promptly move on. I feel like it would have been cool if these areas were expanded on and made into whole sections of the game, like Greenhorn Next Door, Realm of the Fae, and Karkaton. Yeah, that's how that's pronounced. Peculia is another great area with its whole theme being how wacky it is. There are these random portals scattered around the area that take you to mini areas based on previous environments. Pretty interesting, but nothing too crazy. Nimbus is unlocked after taking on the 3rd required quest in the Traveler's Hub and is a cloud area, which kinda reminds me of Heaven from Persona 4, honestly. This is a side tangent, but why does Dominic look like this in the Switch version? I assume his model was made to be looked at on a 3DS screen, but it's weird that it wasn't updated. I mean, all the other models were, but weirdly this one still looks kinda ugly. In cutscenes he looks just fine, but on the world map at his fast travel points, he looks really ugly. I don't know how else to say it. I know I've been bashing him a lot, but I love this little dragon. He's great. Please don't hunt me down, Dominic the Dragon fan club. Anyways, we finally unlocked the next story area, which is a skyscraper, and to enter we have to, oh, god damn it! So we have to find 4 jewels to unlock the main door of the skyscraper. We can get each of these from new side quests in the Traveler's Hub, which lets us explore a bit of these new areas. This kinda highlights just how rudimentary they all are. Don't get me wrong, these are fun side quests and all. I like the robot-obsessed guy, and I especially like that my game decided to make him goddamn Foxy the Pirate Fox. But man, wouldn't it have been cool if we only had to collect 2 jewels to open the door, and each jewel was located at the end of these 2 areas? I mean, Nimbus is already just a stepping stone to the skyscraper, and isn't too underutilized thematically, but Powder Peaks and Peculia feel like they have so much potential. If they were just fleshed out a bit more, make them full-length areas and lock the jewels behind completing them, that way they get utilized beyond just being places to go for side quests. I mean, this ice cave is awesome, and the way it splits up your 10-person party, making you focus on 2 different 5-person teams that maybe hadn't had as much interaction before, is a great idea, and I love sections like this. But it's locked behind one of the 4 jewel side quests, so it doesn't get much time to shine at all. Maybe I'm just butthurt because the snow area didn't get a lot of time to shine. I mean, when I say they should have expanded the areas, I'm mainly picturing a full-length Powder Peaks, and now that I think about it, I'm not sure Peculia would work as a full area, but still, man, I wish there was more here. The side quests are fine, pretty standard fetch quests involving whatever Mii has a problem they need solving, such as the likes of Jolene Cujo, the Beast Titan, and yet again, Foxy. Once we get all 4 jewels, however, ooh baby, this is when I start gushing again. So we hop into the skyscraper and immediately see this creepy-like dream environment. The Darker Lord immediately warns us that some old friends are in the skyscraper. Very soon we see what he means when we see Dio with his face stolen and put onto the Phantom of Evil, which is basically a harder Dark Lord fight without the imps. Once we beat him up, Dio is returned to a normal human once again. He offers to join us in the skyscraper as he wants to make up for the trouble that he caused as the Dark Lord. From now on, Dio acts as a guest party member. He throws rocks as his attack, which deals a single point of damage, and he can also give the party HP bananas, which is much more helpful. Soon after meeting up with him, the party gets split up again, and the first half is designated to fight the King and Princess of Greenhorn, as their faces have been stolen yet again, while the second team fights the genie again. If you couldn't piece it together, the skyscraper is sort of a boss rush, making us fight harder versions of each area boss in the main game. This is, of course, capped off with the boss fight of the Fab Fairies. But before that, we get a little more exposition from the ex-Dark Lord. He says that the Dark Spirit took control of him while he was working in an HP banana factory. Wait, pause. A banana factory? Do you make them by hand? Are they not grown? Wouldn't that just be a banana orchard? Are bananas grown in orchards? Hang on. People often assume that the banana fruit grows on trees. However, the banana is a high herb which can grow up to 15 meters. There are over 1,000 different varieties, blah, blah, blah. Bananas are grown in tropical regions with high temperatures. Whatever. The point is they're grown, not produced. A banana factory? Are they made out of plastic in this universe? Have I been feeding my party members plastic? Hang on, Miitopia wiki to the rescue. HP bananas cost 100 gold and can be found in chests, yada yada yada. Oh, here we go. The ex-Dark Lord worked in an HP banana factory. Are you not going to elaborate? I mean, I guess you can grow bananas in a factory if that's what the factory is for, but he literally says he would make HP bananas, not grow them. In battle, he says, take this HP banana I made. Even if he meant he grew it, he couldn't have grown all these that fast. It's implied he's creating them on the spot. But how? It's a f***ing fruit! So, while working at this, job, he gets possessed by the Dark Spirit because he says he felt so angry and worthless. Huh. Interesting. Wonder if that theme will be coming back anytime soon. When we get to the top of the skyscraper, we part ways with Dio and finally make our way to the last area of the game. Otherworld. Wow, I love the aesthetic of this place. It's so unique. Wait, what's that in the background? Oh no. So the entire background of Otherworld is made up of the faces of Miis from around Miitopia. On one hand, it's kinda neat to see all these different mouths and eyes and such in the Mii Maker plastered together to create a background. But on the other hand, holy shit, that's dark. Otherworld is pretty short overall, with only around 4 required levels and 2 optional ones, all of them culminating in the final battle against the Darker Lord. When we confront him, he gloats about his unstoppable power and how we might as well just give up. We of course accept the challenge and begin the final boss, as he transforms into his final form, using all of the faces of the Miis he has preyed upon throughout the game. It's at this point that the game tells us that he's so powerful that we need to use all 10 party members to stop him. We assign 3 to attack the left hand, 3 to attack the right hand, and 4 to attack the body. The first 6 we choose get to battle first and are able to beat the hands pretty easily. But that doesn't mean anything, as the body of the once friendly Great Sage absorbs the faces of all the party members that were attacking the hands, and the true final fight begins. This is the Darkest Lord. Much like the Dark Lord before him, the Darkest Lord uses our own party members against us, bringing the 6 not on the main team back as enemies. These are admittedly really easy to beat, but it's a great callback and mechanic for the final showdown. Speedwagon uses a multitude of attacks. He can inflict status ailments, hit multiple party members multiple times in one action, the works. He's a pretty tough fight, but If you know how to use the safe spot and sprinkles effectively, it shouldn't be terrible. When we beat him, the Great Sage is released from the curse, releasing the Dark Spirit as it attempts to take control of Olimar yet again. The Great Sage quickly traps it in a bubble and explains how it came to be. A long, long time ago, he was just a normal human, although he was very sad and lonely. Why does everyone ignore me? Please, anyone, just notice me. Now I see, it's this face of mine, this no-good, plain, boring face. And with that, he cast away his own face. He was rid of the thing he resented so badly. But without a face, how could he cling to existence? Before long, he had disappeared, leaving behind a soul full of hatred, malice, and envy. Hearing this, we get a choice. We can break the curse and destroy it forever, or we can save it. Sorry, I made a bit of a typo there in the script. What I meant to say was, there's only one option. If you choose to kill the Dark Spirit, get out of here, you're not welcome. The Great Sage explains that, to save it, we need to give it a face to attach to. And so, it's time to pick the last me. I looked far and wide, searching through access codes after access code, to find a me to fit the role. I had a few ideas, but nothing really hit me as perfect for the role. That's when it hit me. I knew exactly who the Dark Spirit was. It was the me I've been avoiding putting in this game this whole time. That me was, well, me. This whole playthrough, I've avoided putting myself into this game, hiding behind funny combinations of iconic characters from media I enjoy and laughing at the hilarious situation the game puts them in. But let's not forget how this game started. It asks for a me that represents yourself. The main character was meant to be you. In the 3DS version, when I played it all the way back in 2017, it was me. Video games have always been an escape for me, something to do that was past the monotony of everyday activity and boring existence. Without giving away too many personal details, I've always struggled with depression. In fact, I can't remember a time where I wasn't self-conscious about something. In games with a character creator, I always opt to make silly OCs or funny-looking abominations I made with the settings. I've never really been the type to put myself in a game. I'm not sure what came over me, but this time around, I really resonated with the Dark Spirit's story. If it were possible, I'm not sure I can say with complete certainty that I wouldn't cast away my own face. I recently moved to a completely new state. I'm going to a completely new school, meeting completely new people, and I'm gonna be honest, I feel like an outsider. This isn't my home. These aren't my people. I'm not important here. I'm just a faceless, worthless, no-good outsider. Why does everyone ignore me? Please, anyone, just notice me. It's time to stop running. I'm going to put myself in the world I created. I'm going to acknowledge my face. Miitopia is a lot of things. Repetitive, innovative, boring, hilarious, creative, and even somewhat derivative. But the story it brings forth is so in-depth that it can have an emotional impact with no personal connection. But even so, it leaves gaps that you have to fill in to make those moments all the more powerful. Most people aren't going to have the emotional revelation I had playing this silly little Nintendo game, but those that can be creative enough to forge their own meaningful experience out of Miitopia, no matter how in-depth, always leave the experience with a whole new outlook on the tale woven by this game. Even if all you're doing is making the Miis silly little guys and random things from access codes, you still had a part in selecting those roles. That's what's important. the impact you make. So, why? Why is this game so good to me? Well, I think it has something to do with the way all these elements mash together to make something truly special. It is some of the most unique ideas I've ever seen implemented into an RPG, not to mention that they just work. The friendship mechanic is intuitive in gameplay, but also in creativity. The depth that the gameplay dives into is one thing, but it's even better when you consider the fact that you can make these characters literally anything you want. Freddy Fazbear can canonically be best friends with Jotaro Kujo. You can make your best friend into an overpowered god, or your cousin into the Dark Lord. Not to mention how the Switch version has given an outlet for so many incredibly talented people to create Miis beyond anything you could in any previous games that included Miis. Plus, despite so much creativity, the game still manages to have an amazing story on its own. And it's that creativity that makes the story work. Miitopia tells the story of people losing who they are, becoming soulless husks without any personality or individuality. Hey, that rhymed. The Dark Spirit is a metaphor for depression. That feeling of a worthless existence, like you're not contributing anything to the world. Miitopia is about the importance of every single person on Earth. It's saying that the answer to the question, why should I live, is the question itself. You should live for no other reason than that you get to. Make your own path. Be your own person. Don't blend into the crowd. Don't become faceless. Seeing that message represented by yourself, your favorite characters, or some crazy dumb-looking me that you created, emphasizes this idea even more. You exist to be uniquely you, because nobody else can claim to be that. Nobody else had the same Miitopia experience that you did. That right there is why this game is special. Okay, the post-game of Miitopia is pretty freaking awesome. First things first, we get access to 2 new classes, Vampire and Elf. Technically, you can get the Vampire through a side quest in the Traveler's Hub during the main game, but since you can't make any new Miis past the original 10 until the post-game, I didn't mention it since, unless you want to change a Miis class and have them start over completely, the Vampire class won't really be used until the post-game. You get the Elf class by getting to the end of the new optional area, Galados Isles, just off the coast of Miitopia. Both classes can be used to your heart's content, although neither of them are really great in my opinion. I see them at the top of a lot of Miitopia class tier lists for some reason, which I just cannot wrap my head around. Maybe I just haven't used them enough. Why is Chef in C tier? Editor's note. That's a lie. Yeah, I think I would just play this game on 3DS a lot and then start a new file every time I beat the game, so I never really tried the Elf and Vampire classes. I mean, in this most recent playthrough, now that I've actually been going through the post-game for this review, I've realized just how good they are. So they are overpowered. So, my bad. Oops. I sort of have a tradition in Miitopia to bring back old characters from the story to be new party members, since I like to have a party member for every class. I made Dio a vampire because, come on. Vaporeon a princess because, come on. I made Mr. Peabody a scientist and then promptly never used him. And of course, finally, I changed Olimar into an elf since I see it at the top of all these tier lists and I want to see what's so dang good about it. The post-game consists of doing side quests in the Traveler's Hub, exploring the Galados Isles, and of course, New Lumos. This is the area to give true hardcore RPG fans a run for their money. Split up into 8 districts, we get to fight a bunch of really difficult bosses before capping off with a boss rush of all 8 of them in the Tower of Dread. This was the end of the game in the 3DS version, capping off with Dark Sun, a reskinned Darkest Lord that's much more powerful. However, the Switch version gives the player access to the Tower of Despair, after completing the first tower, with all new boss fights to cap off the game. These are bonkers difficult. You'll need max level Miis and a good game plan going into this boss rush. At the apex of it, we find the boss Snurp. You know, the weakest enemy type in the game. Here's a version of that enemy that can easily wipe out your whole party. Good luck! Miitopia isn't a perfect game, by any means. It can be overly simplistic in its gameplay, and the start of the game may really drag on. But what this game lacks, it makes up for in what it accomplishes to be. If a Miitopia movie was released, it would be the worst movie of all time, because the medium of film can't capture what Miitopia was trying to be. Miitopia thrives on the idea that you created this world. You filled it with these characters. If everyone's Miitopia had the exact same Miis in the exact same roles, it wouldn't feel even a fraction as special. When you get to choose who that last Mii is, it feels monumental, because you had a hand in that outcome. Miitopia is by no means a life-changing experience on the surface. Rather, it's subtle in its ability to make the player think, and the way Miitopia does this is something only a game would be able to do. Historically speaking, a masterpiece is defined as a piece of work by a craftsman accepted as qualification for membership of a guild as an acknowledged master. In the context of video games, we can think about a masterpiece as a game which established, and for the first time perfected, a style or an idea of a game. Think the original Mario Brothers, or the original Zelda. They are by no means the best Nintendo games, or even the best in their respective series. However, they established what platformers and adventure games would be and continue to be to this day. A modern example of this would be The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as it did a similar thing to the game that started its series. It was genre-defining and industry-shaking, thus being considered by many to be a modern masterpiece. I mean, look at any open-world game after Breath of the Wild, and tell me it wasn't inspired by it. That game changed what it meant to be an open-world game. Miitopia may not seem like this at first glance. It's a pretty primitive RPG, and you don't see its mechanics becoming mainstays across the genre. But Miitopia isn't great because it shakes up its genre. It's great because it takes advantage of its medium in a way no other game has even attempted to do. I understand that I may be reading into this a bit much, and I get that Nintendo probably didn't make this game with the intent of it being considered a masterpiece by anyone. But I think Miitopia has the ability to encapsulate people in a way nothing else can. It shows a game that people can be affected by because they had a hand in its uniqueness to them. Call me crazy all you want, but to me, this is what makes Miitopia so great. The way gameplay and creativity blend together with an amazing overarching story to create a truly personalized and unique experience to the player. That is what makes Miitopia a modern masterpiece. Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of this incredibly long video. Seriously, thank you. I spent a very long time on this. I've been scripting it for months and editing it for a few weeks now. So, you know, my name is JGpanther, this is my YouTube channel. Obviously this is my first video, so if you just stumbled across this, welcome, please subscribe. Please subscribe. I'm already working on another video right now, so hopefully that'll be up eventually. Yeah. Hopefully that'll be up eventually. It's probably gonna take a bit. I'm gonna, you know, chill after making this giant video. But yeah, if you randomly stumbled across this video, stay tuned. If you liked this, there's more on the way. And also, I just want to give a huge shout out to MJ the Shiny Hunter, who has been with me through this entire journey. I was originally going to upload this video on that channel, just as a one-time thing, because this was a big passion project of mine, making this big video about Miitopia, but, you know, MJ just pushed me to get into YouTube and really express myself creatively, so I am so thankful for that because I'm having so much fun just making these videos. Like I said, I already started making another. So yeah, link in the description. Go subscribe to that channel if you didn't come from it, because I'm going to force MJ to promote the absolute living hell out of this video on their channel. So, you know, if you didn't already come from that channel, go ahead and go subscribe to it. And for those who did come from that channel, hi! Yeah. What else is there to really say? I don't think there's much else to really say. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye now. See ya. See ya.